Good afternoon, everybody. Rob here at WesternPacificWeather.com. Currently right around 1700 Japan Standard Time. That's right around 07 Zulu. As you can see here, the satellite picture is dominated by 13 Whiskey or Malakas. Currently moving north-northeast, right around 10 knots right now, but gradually picking up speed as it starts to interact with this area of low pressure just to the north of it here. Current winds out of the system right around 80, gusting up to 100 knots. Expecting this to intensify actually over the next 12 to 24 hours with a max around 100 knots. Iwatoa did report some winds right around 70 to 80 knots earlier today, right in this island right in here, or Iwo Jima for people. Now, it currently is CPA in the storm right around about 10 to 15 nautical miles just to the east of the eye wall. So this central area right in here is definitely feeling the full wrath of this system, and I would expect this even to get up with gusts up to 100 knots on the island there. Good news though, very low populated. I'm sure the entire island was evacuated prior to the system making landfall. So good news overall there. Now over the next 48 hours, we're going to start to see this system interact more with this trough of low pressure right in here and steer off to the northeast. And now the big news with this though, it looks like it's going to become a very, very strong extratropical storm, a very deep one, and it's going to actually create waves up in this area right around about 40 to 50 feet, so that's pretty intense and very high waves up there. Also, some pretty strong surf along the coast of Japan here. The possibility of riptide is overall a worldwide event, everybody. So something you gotta watch in here, especially with a lot of inlets and harbors, a lot of jetties along the coast of Japan in here. So I know a really good surf for most people up here. You don't get too good of a surf out here very often, but this is definitely a dangerous situation. And remember, if you ever do get caught out in one of these riptides, usually close to jetties or in the edge of harbors or non such, just make sure you always swim to the side, not against it. As you can see on this lovely little diagram here, that will not end in a good situation. Now, Japan's radar currently showing precipitation along the eastern coast of the island, expecting this to drift farther back northward as this area of low pressure begins to interact with 13 Whiskey. So much of the Kanto Plain down to Shikoku and along the eastern part of Honshu, definitely going to see some more precipitation today. I know yesterday it was a big dosage, had plenty of thunderstorms across most of the island. So overall, though, today is going to be another one of those days, expecting that to linger by tomorrow morning as the storm begins to CPA Honshu here before taken off to the northeast. Now looking again quickly at the visibility imagery here, you can kind of see the low-lying features that IR does not pick up on. Still got a good amount of inflow, low-level Q rate in here, but also a very well-defined eye right now. And as I already noted, it's sitting over about 90 degrees of water temperature. But as this system moves northward in the next 24 hours, and it's going to be moving well east of the Kuroshio Current, which is about the equivalent of the Gulf Stream back in the Atlantic, it is going to run in sea surface temperatures right around 70 to 75 degrees, which can actually be seen on this chart right here from underground right here. And just showing 90 degrees, 80 degrees and higher in the red here. And as it starts to move northward, though, it is going to run quickly into much cooler sea surface temperatures. And off the east coast of Hokkaido, sea surface temperature is much lower, right around 60 degrees, especially once it starts to encounter the Owashi current, the cold current up here just north of Hokkaido. Here's the official track from JTWC. As the system is getting wrapped up with that trough, looks like it's actually going to work its way a little bit farther west than originally anticipated, about 50 to 100 nautical miles from center CPA to Tokyo. Now, actually, looks like a CPA to Yokosuka, Japan, right around 250 nautical miles right now. Still expecting max forecasted winds in the Kanto Plain area, right around 30 up to 35 knots, and even the occasional gust up to 40 knots. Now, this winds is not directly related to actually the tropical storm itself, or the typhoon itself. It actually is interacting with that trough of low pressure and a very strong high pressure building in behind the storm right in this region over the Sea of Japan. That interaction is going to create a very tight pressure gradient throughout this area right in here, creating that increased wind. And looking at the global mosaic here provided by Sims, actually 13 Whiskey is dominating the satellite picture right now. No other invests in the entire West Pac. I don't see anything out here in the East Pac as well. So overall, this is definitely the dominant feature. Now, this interacting with that trough of low pressure definitely is blowing up a lot of convection. That on top of the Kuroshio, creating some diabetics effect right in this region. So overall, this is definitely a very bad place to be if you are out to sea. But right along the coast, still that high surf is already talking about earlier. And you're going to be seeing a lot of precipitation and increased winds along the east coast of Japan today. Now, the reason why I'm showing you though this overall satellite picture is if we're going to see the storm track along this low pressure pressure right in here move off to the northeast, and it's eventually going to be getting wrapped up in the Aleutian low out here. And over the next week or so, you're going to start to see this actually making landfall along the coast of British Columbia, even down to northwest states right in here. So the system is going to eventually affect you back there in the western hemisphere. So just something to watch and take note of. A very strong system right in here, and it looks like it's actually going to intensify even more so as soon as it becomes extratropical and starts to move off to the northeast. Looking at Google Earth images here, you have 13 Whiskey out here just to the southeast of Japan. But also, I want to go back to about a week ago. We had Felipe out here, made landfall over Taiwan and eventually over China. Good news, though, there was only reports of 3 deaths in Taiwan, but a much graver situation over China here in the southeastern portion of China. Actually, I have reports up to about 55 deaths now, mainly all due to flooding throughout this entire region right in here. Overall, this entire area has been seeing some of the worst rainfalls in century in this entire region. That plus poor plumbing in many of these areas have created high floodings, and now the high deaths toll up to about 55 now. Some areas did see about 8 inches of rain in a portion of 24 hours. That on top of the already flooded rivers and such throughout this area. I mean, the 11th typhoon to 11th overall tropical to hit this region right in here so far this tropical season. So a very serious situation out of there. Over 1.2 million people were affected, and about 4,000 people are left homeless. So sad situation out of there. Just showing some pictures of the damage right in here, some down power lines here. Overall, very widespread mudslides throughout the country. Lots of localized flooding, low-lying areas, and such. So again, a very sad situation built on top of already damaging throughout. So that is all for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to westernpacificweather.com. If you have any questions, you can email me. You can also find me at storm2k.org. Very good site there. So stay safe out there and have a good night, everybody.